Close your eyes and picture this. You're standing at the edge of a perfectly round lake. Its dark waters hiding a secret that fell from the stars 4,000 years ago. Ancient legends whisper that this is where the sun itself crashed to Earth. Welcome to Estonia, a land where meteorites have carved sacred mysteries into the landscape, and medieval walls guard stories that stretch back centuries. I'm about to take you on a journey through a country that feels like Europe's best-kept secret. If you love discovering hidden gems like these, subscribe to join me on adventures to places that will completely change how you see the world. Did you know Estonia has more meteorite craters per square kilometer than any other country on Earth? The most famous one, Kali crater, was formed when a meteorite slammed into the island of Saaremaa 3,500 years ago, and local folklore still tells of the day the sun fell to Earth. Here's something wild. In Soomaa National Park, spring floods are so massive that locals abandon their roads entirely and travel between villages by canoe. They literally call it the fifth season. But wait, there's more. At Rumu Quarry, you can scuba dive through an actual flooded Soviet prison, complete with jail cells and guard towers still standing perfectly preserved underwater. And if that wasn't enough, Viru Bog has floating islands that bounce like trampolines when you walk on them, yet they're strong enough to support your full weight. On Kinu Island, women run absolutely everything. They handle all business, own all property, and make every cultural decision while the men are off at sea. Meanwhile, the town of Paldiski was so contaminated by Soviet nuclear submarine training that the entire population was evacuated, and it remained off-limits to civilians for decades. Now, let's dive into the incredible places Estonia has to offer, starting with the thundering Jõgala waterfall. What if I told you Estonia's highest waterfall sometimes just disappears? Jõgala waterfall stretches an impressive 50 meters wide, thundering over ancient limestone cliffs that humans have called home since prehistoric times. But here's the thing. Visit in late summer, and you might find nothing but exposed rock and trickling streams. The water simply vanishes when river levels drop, making this less a permanent landmark and more a seasonal performance. Catch it right though, and the experience is unforgettable. Late spring brings the real show, when snowmelt sends curtains of white water crashing down, with enough force to feel the mist on your face from 20 meters away. The surrounding birch forest mirrors itself in the pools below, creating this doubled world of green and rushing white. Come winter, the transformation shifts again. Frozen cascades forming ice sculptures that cling to the cliff face like nature's own cathedral. You're standing on rock that once sat at the bottom of an ancient sea over 400 million years ago, before dinosaurs, before trees, before almost everything we know. Panga Cliff rises 21 meters above the Baltic, Estonia's tallest coastal cliff, its layered limestone face reading like pages in Earth's oldest diary. Each stratum tells a different chapter of the Silurian period, when this entire region lay submerged beneath warm tropical waters. Local legend claims a giant once lived here, hurling boulders into the waves to protect the land from invaders. The reality feels equally mythic. Run your hand along the cool, rough surface, and you're touching creatures that swam here when life itself was still figuring things out. The cliff stretches 2 kilometers along the coast, its rugged gray face softened by morning light, crowned with wind-swept grass that sways against endless Baltic blue. Somewhere beneath this forest, a meteorite struck the Earth 3,000 years ago. The crater still exists, hidden under moss and pine, one of Estonia's best-kept secrets. Lahemaa National Park sprawls across Estonia's northern coast, the country's largest protected wilderness, where ancient geology meets centuries of human ambition. Morning mist drifts across the bogs here, revealing pools of amber water ringed by vibrant green sphagnum moss. The air carries that unmistakable scent of damp peat and earth. But Lahemaa holds more than wilderness. Palms Manor rises from manicured gardens, its pastel walls and Baroque elegance preserving the world of 18th century Baltic nobility. You can walk the same gravel paths that counts and barons strolled, then disappear into primeval forest within minutes. Boulders the size of houses line the rugged coastline, scattered like giants' toys across granite beaches worn smooth by Baltic waves. Wait, this waterfall was built by humans. In the 1700s, engineers redirected the Kala River, carving channels through rock to power mills and later generate electricity. The result? Northern Estonia's largest waterfall, and it's entirely man-made. The cascade stretches an impressive 60 meters wide, water tumbling 6 meters down a rocky ledge, with a thunderous roar that fills the surrounding forest. In summer, the spray catches light through canopies of green. Winter transforms it completely. Ice formations cling to every surface, the water still pushing through frozen sculptures. You stand on the viewing platform, mist settling on your jacket, and it's hard to believe none of this would exist without 18th century ambition. The river simply flowed elsewhere before someone decided to reshape it. 2 centuries later, nature has claimed the engineering as its own. Moss softening every edge, trees crowding the banks like they've always been here. 318 meters. That's it. That's the roof of the Baltic states. In a region so flat you can watch your dog run away for 3 days, this modest hill somehow claims the title of highest point in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania combined. The Ice Age built it 12,000 years ago, and locals still tell stories of a giant who piled these stones by hand. You climb through pine forest, breathing in that sharp green scent of resin and damp earth. Then the observation tower appears. You spiral up and suddenly, everything. The Estonian countryside unfurls in every direction. Forests rolling like green waves toward horizons you'd swear were 100 kilometers away. At dawn, mist pools in the valleys below, turning the landscape into scattered islands floating on white. Where else can you file your taxes, start a company, and vote? All from your phone, while staring at 13th century towers. Tallinn built the world's first digital society inside walls that medieval merchants once defended. The contrast hits you immediately. Cobblestone streets wind past Gothic spires and pastel-colored merchant houses, their rooftops clustered beneath St. Olaf's Church. Yet inside these ancient buildings, startups write code that shapes global tech. At dusk, climb Toompea Hill. The old town spreads below, amber lights warming stone facades, while the smell of fresh rye bread drifts from corner bakeries. In 1991, this city became the symbol of Estonian independence. Now it represents something else entirely. Proof that a nation can honor its past while inventing the future. Estonia's second-largest island feels like time forgot to check in. Hiiumaa moves at a pace the mainland abandoned decades ago. Dirt roads wind past juniper fields where sheep outnumber tourists, and locals still leave doors unlocked. The real treasure stands on the Western Cape. Kopu Lighthouse has guided Baltic sailors since 1531, nearly 5 centuries of unbroken service, making it one of the oldest operational lighthouses in the world. You climb the worn stone steps, emerging to views that stretch across an endless horizon of dark pines, meeting gray sea. Summer brings meadows exploding with wildflowers, their sweetness mixing with salt air. The beaches here aren't crowded stretches of sand, but quiet coves framed by ancient forests. As dusk settles, the lighthouse beam sweeps across waters that have watched empires rise and fall. A meteor slammed into this island 7,500 years ago. The blast was visible from Finland. Today, that cosmic violence left behind something unexpectedly serene, a perfectly round lake cradled in Europe's largest meteorite crater. You stand at the rim of Kali, just 110 meters across, but impossibly ancient. And the water reflects back whatever sky you've brought with you. Pine-scented air mixes with the earthy dampness of moss-covered ground. But Saaremaa offers more than its extraterrestrial scar. 5 wooden windmills at Angla stand like sentinels against rolling farmland. Rugged cliffs drop into the Baltic along coastlines the Teutonic Knights once fought to control. At sunset, when the crater lake burns copper and gold, you're standing where the universe literally touched down. From a crater forged by cosmic fire, we travel to a city built by words. In 1632, while most of Europe's universities still lectured exclusively in Latin, Tartu did something radical. It opened classrooms where Estonian echoed through the halls. The first university to teach in this language. Ever. Walk through Town Hall Square today, and you'll feel that rebellious spirit still humming. Students spill from cafes, bikes lean against centuries-old walls, and the university's red brick facade glows like an ember against Baltic skies. This is Estonia's oldest city, wearing its youngest face. The Emajogi River slides past cathedral ruins where German scholars once debated philosophy. Now those same stones watch a new generation argue over coffee and code. History here doesn't sit in museums. It walks to class. Every summer, this quiet coastal town of 50,000 becomes something else entirely. Over 100,000 visitors descend on Pärnu, more than doubling the population, transforming Estonia's oldest spa destination into its unofficial summer capital. 2 kilometers of white sand stretch along the Baltic, dotted with colorful umbrellas and the sound of children splashing in gentle waves. The air carries salt and blooming flowers from nearby gardens. Since 1251, people have sought these shores, medieval traders first, then wellness seekers drawn to mineral-rich mud baths housed in striking historic buildings. At sunset, the promenade glows golden, locals and visitors alike savoring the long northern twilight. Have you ever heard sand sing? Along the Pärnu River, certain sandbanks produce an eerie musical hum when you walk across them, a phenomenon so unexpected that first-time visitors often freeze mid-step, wondering where the sound is coming from. This glacier-carved waterway has shaped Estonia's landscape since the Ice Age, its estuary the largest in the country. Medieval traders once navigated these waters, connecting inland villages to Baltic ports. Today, colorful cafes line the banks, their reflections dancing on the current. At golden hour, the sandy shores glow amber, and if you listen closely, the river seems to breathe. A Russian Orthodox cathedral towering over a Lutheran nation, Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, rises 40 meters above Tallinn's Old Town, its gilded onion domes catching morning light, while medieval spires crowd the skyline behind it. Built during the final years of the Russian Empire, this wasn't just architecture, it was a statement. Inside, deep crimson walls glow against gold leaf, candle flames flickering across centuries-old frescoes. The air hangs heavy with incense and whispered prayers. Step outside, and you're standing at the crossroads of 2 cultures,
Two faiths, two histories that still shape Estonia today.
When the Baltic Sea freezes just right, something remarkable happens here. Locals walk to a nearby island. No boats, no bridges, just ice stretching across open water, a natural highway that forms maybe once or twice a decade.
Haapsalu has drawn visitors for centuries, though most came for different reasons.
Tchaikovsky walked these shores, seeking the healing waters that made this tiny town a playground for Russian aristocrats. Today, swans glide past Estonia's longest wooden promenade, while salt air carries hints of pine and seaweed. The castle ruins catch amber light at sunset. Time moves slower here, deliberately so. From coastal cliffs, we travel to a place the Soviet Union tried to erase from maps entirely. Paldiski housed the USSR's first nuclear submarine training center, so secret that civilians needed special permits just to approach. Today, graffiti blazes across abandoned reactor buildings. Artists have claimed the concrete bunkers. The transformation feels almost defiant. You walk past rusting military infrastructure while the Baltic crashes against limestone cliffs below. Salt air mixing with the earthy decay of Cold War architecture. What was once forbidden ground now pulses with creative energy. Galleries and guardhouses, studios and storage facilities. History repurposed, not forgotten. Swedish voices echo across this Baltic island. Not tourists, residents. Vormsi is one of the last places on Earth where Estonian Swedes still speak their ancestors' language, descendants of 19th century settlers who never left. The island stretches across 92 square kilometers of windswept coastline and wildflower meadows, Estonia's largest in the Western archipelago. Wooden houses line quiet lanes, their doors painted in colors that pop against weathered gray timber. Walk the coastal cliffs as saltwater mingles with sweet summer blooms. At sunset, golden light washes over this pocket of preserved heritage. Look closer at this water. In summer, Lake Viljandi turns an almost Caribbean turquoise, tropical colors in the Baltic, thanks to seasonal algae blooms that transform an Ice Age lake into something you'd expect in the Maldives. Medieval castle ruins rise from the forested shoreline, their 13th century stones watching over kayakers gliding across that impossible blue. Each July, folk music drifts across the water as thousands gather for Estonia's beloved festival. Pine-scented air, ancient walls, and colors that shouldn't exist this far north. You're walking on water. Well, almost. Beneath your feet, sphagnum moss floats like a living mattress. 8,000 years of growth compressed into a sponge that somehow holds your weight.
The boardwalk winds through Viru Bog's 3,500 hectares, past pools so still they mirror the Estonian sky perfectly.
Dark water, emerald moss, silence broken only by your footsteps on weathered planks. At dawn, mist rises from the surface like the bog is breathing.
Russian nobility once escaped to a manor here that most Estonians have never heard of.
Keila's 1860 estate, designed by the same architect who shaped St. Petersburg's grandest buildings, sits wrapped in forests like a forgotten secret. But locals know the real draw, a waterfall where morning mist clings to the rocks and pine-scented air fills your lungs. The river mirrors everything. Trees, sky, centuries of quiet elegance. Sometimes the best endings aren't discoveries. They're returns to stillness.
Estonia has 4 seasons. Soomaa has 5. Every spring, when snowmelt and rainfall overwhelm the rivers, this national park doesn't just flood, it transforms into a completely different landscape. Roads vanish, trails disappear, And suddenly, the only way to explore is by canoe, paddling through forests where tree trunks rise straight from the water like columns in a flooded cathedral. The locals call it the fifth season, and they've been navigating these waters since the Stone Age. You push off from the visitor center, and immediately that earthy scent hits you, wet moss and ancient peat, the perfume of a landscape that's been cycling between land and water for millennia. The park stretches across 390 square kilometers of bog and floodplain forest, one of the most extensive in Europe. But forget the numbers. Just breathe. Let the paddle dip. Watch the mist curl between birches standing knee-deep in their own reflection. The birds found this place before anyone else did, and they keep coming back. Lääne County's western coastline dissolves into shallow bays and reed beds that host one of Europe's great migration spectacles. Hundreds of thousands of Arctic waterfowl stopping here each spring and autumn, filling the sky with wings. Matsalu National Park spreads across the county's heart, its wetlands and coastal meadows forming a corridor between Arctic breeding grounds and southern wintering sites. Barnacle geese alone arrive by the tens of thousands, their calls creating a wall of sound that carries for kilometers. But Lääne holds human history too. Haapsalu, the county seat, was once the Russian Empire's fashionable spa destination. The same hill has flown 9 different flags: Danish, German, Swedish, Russian, Soviet. Each power that conquered Estonia planted their banner atop Toompea Castle, making it less a fortress than a scoreboard of sovereignty. The original walls rose in the 9th century, and they've witnessed sieges, revolutions, and the quiet determination of a nation that refused to disappear. Today, the Estonian parliament meets within these ancient stones. Run your hand across walls roughened by 1,000 years of Baltic winds. At golden hour, the white Pick Hermann Tower catches fire with light, Estonia's blue-black-white flag snapping overhead. Finally, permanently, their own. The wooden houses here were never meant to last this long. Built in the late 1800s for factory workers and fishermen, these single-story cottages with their carved window frames and faded paint were supposed to be temporary, cheap housing for Tallinn's industrial poor. Now they're among the most sought-after addresses in the Baltics. Calamaja means fish house in Estonian, a name that still fits the neighborhood's salt air character, even as craft breweries and design studios fill the old warehouses. Walking these streets feels like moving through time zones. Soviet-era neglect giving way to bright murals, century-old wooden facades hiding minimalist Scandinavian interiors. The cobblestones remember horse carts. The cafes serve oat milk lattes. What makes Calamaja work is what almost destroyed it. Decades of underinvestment meant the wooden architecture survived when other neighborhoods got bulldozed for concrete blocks. Now morning light catches the weathered planks just right, and you understand why artists moved here first. There's a stillness here that takes getting used to. Central Estonia stretches flat and forested, and Rapla County sits at its heart. No dramatic coastline, no medieval towers drawing tour buses, just endless birch groves and fields that seem to breathe with the seasons. This is the Estonia that Estonians actually live in. Small towns with single grocery stores, churches that have stood since the Teutonic Knights built them, farms where families have worked the same dark soil for generations, growing rye and potatoes in land that freezes solid for months each winter. Hagari's limestone church dates to the 13th century, its thick walls holding silence like a vessel. The county's magic lies in its ordinariness. Drive the back roads in late summer, windows down, and the smell of cut hay fills the car. No one's performing tradition here, they're just living it. You descend into darkness, and the 20th century swallows you whole. The air thickens with coal dust, that gritty, unmistakable smell that clings to your clothes and throat. Machinery groans somewhere in the black. This is Kotla Mining Park, where the underground isn't recreated. It's real. Estonia's largest industrial heritage site spans 100 hectares of Soviet-era mining history. During the Cold War, these tunnels fed coal to the entire USSR. Now they offer something rarer than any museum: actual working conditions. The cold, the cramped shafts, the echoing clang of metal on stone. Above ground, rusting equipment stands like monuments against encroaching forest. The old mine head towers overhead, its weathered frame catching early morning light. Nature is slowly reclaiming what industry abandoned, but underground, time stays perfectly, eerily still. The fortress ruins above the lake tell a familiar Baltic story. Built by crusaders, destroyed by wars, rebuilt, destroyed again. What remains of Viljandi Castle clings to the hillside, its red brick towers overlooking water so still it mirrors the sky perfectly. But Viljandi has rewritten its identity around something unexpected: folk music. Every July, the town's population triples when the Viljandi Folk Music Festival takes over, filling medieval ruins and lakeside meadows with musicians from across the world. Estonian traditional songs blend with experimental improvisation, and for 4 days this quiet southern town becomes the unlikely center of European roots music. Southern Estonia feels different from the north, softer somehow, the landscape rolling rather than flat, the accent lilting differently. From medieval towers to digital innovations, Estonia showed us a nation where old souls and new dreams walk hand in hand. If these hidden corners of Europe speak to you, subscribe. There's always another story waiting. Which Estonian experience would call to you first?